Let's start with the pressure and winds. So pressure is what? In terms of geography, it is atmospheric pressure. So it is defined as the force exerted by the atmospheric gas on a column of unit area. मतलब एक यूनिट एरिया पे कितना एटमॉस्फेरिक फोर्स एक्सर्ट हो रहा है बाय द गैसेस. दिस इज कॉल्ड pressure or atmospheric pressure. So pressure is measured using the instrument called barometer, and especially mercury barometer. And the unit or SI unit is bar, or it is usually atmospheric pressure is usually measured in millibars, right? So let's see some of the pressure. The pressure along the mean sea level is 1013 millibar, and this is considered as normal pressure condition. As we all know, the pressure is not uniformly distributed over the earth. Some areas experience high pressure and some areas experiences low pressure conditions. So, scientists discovered 7 pressure belts over the globe, and these are equatorial pressure belt, subtropical high pressure belts, subpolar low pressure belts, and polar high pressure belts. So these are located as follows in the figure. Now let's see the equatorial low pressure belt. It extends from the 10 degree north to 10 degrees south, and it is a thermally induced pressure belt. Thermally means temperaturally induced. So the temperature are high throughout the year, so the pressure is low. So one main thing you have to note that out is whatever the temperature is, it is inversely proportional to the pressure. So if the temperature is high, then pressure will be low. If the temperature is low, then the pressure would be high. So now the things would be more clear to you. So we are talking about the equatorial low pressure belt. So temperature, due to high temperature, there is more evaporation, means more rainfall. Now the more rainfall will happen, so rainforest vegetation would be found in this belt. Now it's very clear with the temperature, with all these pressure, how it affects the vegetation, how it affects the community living there. So this is all about the equatorial low pressure belt. Now move to the next, subtropical high pressure belt. So this extends between 25 degrees to 35 degrees in both northern and southern hemisphere. It is dynamically induced pressure belt, which is air continuously subsidized from the tropopause and exert more force on the surface, making them a high pressure belt. So these belts are also known as Hawes latitudes. So if the question comes to your that what is the Hawes latitude or where the Hawes latitude lies, so you have to mark the answer 25 to 35 degrees in both hemispheres, right? Now move to the next belt, that is subpolar low pressure belt, and it is between the 55 to 60 degree latitudes in both the hemisphere. It is also dynamically induced pressure belt. So here air continuously ascends to the tropopause, exerts less pressure on the force surface, so it is a low pressure belt. So in the subtropical high belt, the air was descending towards the surface, while in the subpolar tropical belt, it is moving upwards to the tropopause. It is extending to the tropopause. So these are about the belts. And about the polar belts, polar high pressure belts, temperature would be low in the polar regions, so that pressure would be very much high. So now the belts are all here. Now let's move to the second topic known as winds. So what is wind? So a huge mass of air blowing in a definite direction horizontally to the Earth's surface is called as wind. So it should be a huge air mass. Second, it should move in the definite direction and it should be horizontal to the Earth's surface. So if these three conditions satisfy with the air masses, then it is known as wind. Now let's see the factors which affect the movement of winds. So first one is pressure gradient force. So what it is, the direction of wind blow and the velocity of wind is determined by pressure gradient force. If the velocity is less, then the pressure would be less. If the velocity is higher, then the pressure would be higher. So the wind always blow from high pressure to the low pressure. Now the second factor is Coriolis force. So it is the rotational force of the earth and it is being observed that higher the velocity of winds, it means more the deflection is. And there is a law called Parallel's law, which states that in northern hemisphere, basically, the winds have to deflect towards the right, while in the southern hemisphere, the winds have to deflect towards the west due to what? Coriolis force. And this law is known as Parallel's law. Now the third factor is frictional force. So the wind blowing along the surface experiences the frictional force and their velocity is being reduced, while the winds blowing at the certain altitudes are blown unrestricted. Now let's see the type of winds. First one is global winds or planetary winds. Second one is regional winds or known as seasonal winds. Third one is the local winds. So let's see the global winds. So why these are known as global winds? Because they blow over all over the globe or all over the planets. So the name termed as global winds. There are three types of global winds. First one is trade wind, second is westerlies, and third one is easterlies. In the figure, you can clearly see that the wind coming from the 30-degree northern latitude to the 0 degree to the equator is deflected towards its right due to Coriolis force, while in the southern hemisphere, in the 30-degree latitude, you can observe the wind is deflected towards the left. So the convergence cause the trade winds. These are known as trade winds. Okay. The trade winds basically prevail between the equatorial low pressure belts and subtropical high pressure belt in both the hemisphere. It blows from east to west. In northern hemisphere, they are known as northeast trade winds, and in the southern hemisphere, they are known as southeast trade winds. The winds are onshore in the eastern margins of the continent, so they bring high rainfall to the eastern parts. As the wind continues to blow towards the west, the moisture decreases and the western margins get desertified. So you can observe that all the hot deserts of the world are restricted to the western margins of the continent in the trade wind belt. Now the second type of global wind is westerlies, and these are between subtropical high pressure belt and subpolar low pressure belt in the both hemisphere. And these wind blow from west to east. So the name is westerlies. Westerlies in the southern hemisphere are very strong due to absence of landmass. There is no friction. So in the southern hemisphere, they are with some other names, such as at 40 degrees southern latitude, they are known as roaring 40s. At 50 degrees latitude, they are known as furious 50s. And at 60 degrees latitude, they are known as shrieking 60s. Now the third global wind is easterlies. They are also known as polar easterlies, and they prevail between the subpolar low pressure belt to the high pressure belt in both hemispheres. They blow from east to west, so they are named as easterlies. So this is all about the global winds, and that's all for today.